In the last lecture, we set up this navigation for iOS. Now we want to set it up for Android too. Now for this, you first of all need to install the package if you haven't done this already. And as I said in the iOS section, yarn add, that's just an alternative to npm. You can replace it with npm install -- save. So I already ran this command, but of course, if you haven't, make sure to run npm install -- save react native navigation like this, or append the at latest as they do there to make sure you really fetch the absolutely latest version. Now once you did this, you have to add something to your Android settings Gradle file. So copy the code they provide here in this snippet, and in your project go into the Android folder. There you can now simply go into your settings Gradle file right on the top level of this Android folder. So settings Gradle, and there below the vector icons, for example, add this code here you just copied, which basically is the same code as for the vector icons, just for the React Native navigation package with a path to this package. As a next step, go to step number 3, and now you need to update your project dependencies in the Android app build Gradle file. So for that, we actually need to update two parts of that file. Let's copy the first part from that Android section, and let's go to Android app, and there it's this build Gradle file, and search for this Android part in there. Here it is. You see, right now we have a SDK version against we're compiling of 23. This library requires 25, so let's just paste in the code we just copied. Now, as a next step, we copy that code here and search for the dependencies area in that file here. And below the React Native vector icons code, we enter our code we just copied. With that, we can move on to section 4. We have to edit our main activity.java file. It should extend this splash activity class here instead of React activity. So you can find this file under Android app source main Java, and there it's in this main activity file. And as it says on its documentation, we should no longer extend the React activity, but this class instead. And of course, you can also simply import this class to not having to, so that you don't have to provide the full path here. You can also just extend splash activity if instead of this thing you import COM React Native Navigation Controllers splash activity. So that's the first thing you have to do. The next step, 5, is that we have to edit our main application Java file. There we first of all have to add an import. So let's do that. Simply add that file below the vector icons import, for example. And as a next step, we also have to change the content of this file. Now here, we will do this with care. I copy all the content from the main application class, and I will comment out the existing code so that it's effectively deleted and paste in a new one. But remember that we already added the vector icons to our getPackages method in the last course module. Of course, we still need to do that. So still copy that. And now we have a new getPackages file. And there we should enter this. And it actually even shows this as an example. So make sure to add this here in this list. Nothing else needs to be added. React Native Navigation doesn't need to be added here. Now with this, we're almost done. But if we have a look at the documentation, we see that we also need to change the class our main application extends. So here, when we extend application and implement React application, we should change this to just extends navigation application. That's what we're importing here. With that, make sure to save all your files and then simply rerun Android with npm run Android to rebuild your project. This can take a bit longer now since we changed a lot. Thereafter, we should have a running application. Feel free to quit this development process in this extra terminal window with Control-C before you run this command. And here I got an error because there is a tiny mistake, even though it's well documented. Our main activity here, of course, I should get rid of this function. It even says so in the documentation. So make sure to delete this and thereafter rerun npm run Android. With that, we got a successfully rebuilt React native application. Let's now do the same for iOS and continue.